For most of human history, people lived inside a world of unquestioned stories. They inherited beliefs from their ancestors and passed them down without ever stopping to ask, is this true? How do we know? What if the world works differently? Before rational thinking emerged, there was no separation between myth and knowledge. Thunder wasn't electricity. It was the anger of gods. Illness wasn't biology. It was a curse. The seasons didn't follow astronomical patterns. They responded to rituals and sacrifices. Humanity didn't seek explanations. We sought comfort, patterns, stories. But around 2,500 years ago, in a collection of small Greek city-states along the Mediterranean, something quietly revolutionary began to take shape. A transformation inside the mind, a shift from accepting the world to questioning it. This revolution didn't happen all at once. It began with curiosity, then arguments, then debate, then structured methods of thought. It was the birth of rationality, and it would set humanity on a completely new path. The world before rationality. Imagine living in a world where nothing is predictable. The river may flood, the crops may die, a storm may destroy your home, and the explanation is always the same. Supernatural forces decided it. There were no scientific models, no principles, no concept of natural law. People lived inside a mythology-driven universe where fate controlled everything. Even civilizations like Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Persia, who built magnificent cities, didn't search for deep, abstract causes. Their knowledge was practical, ritualistic, and symbolic, not analytical. They wrote down observations, but never asked the philosophical question, what is the underlying rule behind this phenomenon? That question is purely Greek, and it changed everything. The Ionian miracle. On the coast of Ionia, something unique happened. These Greeks lived between older civilizations, trading constantly. They heard different myths, different explanations, different gods. And that diversity created doubt. If Egyptians said the world began one way and Persians said another, which one was true? Could both be false? Out of this tension, a new style of thinking was born, a style based not on tradition, but on reason. Thales, the first philosopher in history, looked at the world and said, the universe must follow principles. No one had said that before. He predicted a solar eclipse. He measured land using geometry. He believed nature was knowable. His student, Anaximander, developed the idea of the apeiron, an infinite, boundless source underlying everything. Another thinker, Anaximenes, believed air transformed into matter through pressure. These were primitive theories, but they were theories, attempts to explain nature with natural causes. And that single step separated Greece from every civilization before it. The rise of argument. The Greeks didn't just create ideas, They argued about them endlessly. If Thales said one thing, Anaximander disagreed. If Pythagoras proposed a concept, someone challenged it. This culture of disagreement is the backbone of Western civilization. Not unity, not obedience, but debate. Agora, the marketplace, became the birthplace of ideas. Anyone could stand and argue. Ideas competed, sharpened, evolved. Knowledge wasn't inherited. It was tested, reasoned, disciplined. This set the foundation for what would soon become the most powerful intellectual tradition in human history. Then came Socrates, a man who did not care about the stars or the origins of the universe. He cared about something deeper, the human mind. He walked the streets questioning everyone, politicians, craftsmen, poets, not to humiliate them, but to reveal something profound. Most people don't know what they think they know. His method was simple. Ask questions until the truth or the contradiction reveals itself. What is justice? What is courage? What is virtue? Nobody had answers. For Socrates, wisdom began with humility. Acknowledging ignorance opened the path to knowledge. His greatest contribution was not a theory, but a method. Critical examination of ideas. The West inherited this method so deeply that today it shapes science, journalism, law, democracy, and education. Socrates didn't just challenge Athens, he challenged the entire human way of thinking.
Plato, the architect of thought. After Socrates' execution, his student Plato was devastated. But he didn't let Socrates' ideas die. He built the Academy, the first long-lasting institution dedicated to thought. Plato believed the visible world was only a shadow of a deeper reality, the world of forms. Perfect truth, perfect justice, perfect beauty, existing beyond the senses. He wrote dialogues exploring politics, ethics, metaphysics, and psychology. No other civilization produced such abstract philosophical work at that time. Plato shaped the intellectual architecture of the West, its language of ideas, its questions, its frameworks. His writings became required reading for 2,000 years. Aristotle, the system builder. If Plato built the world of ideas, Aristotle built the structure of knowledge. He believed you must study reality as it is, observe, classify, compare, analyze. Aristotle built the first system of logic, the foundation of biology, the theory of rhetoric, the earliest political science, the method of scientific reasoning. Every subject had principles, categories, definitions. He described how arguments work, how governments function, how persuasion operates, how the human soul behaves. Where Plato dreamed, Aristotle measured. Where others speculated, Aristotle observed. He transformed philosophy into a complete toolkit for understanding the world. Almost every field studied today, from psychology to physics to ethics, still rests on foundations Aristotle created. The spread of knowledge. Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. And as Alexander built an empire stretching from Greece to Egypt to India, he carried Greek thinking across continents. In Egypt, the Library of Alexandria became the world's first research institution. Scientists, mathematicians, and thinkers worked side by side. Euclid reorganized mathematics. Archimedes created early calculus. Eratosthenes measured Earth with near-perfect accuracy. Astronomers mapped the heavens. Doctors studied anatomy scientifically. Knowledge wasn't sacred anymore. It was something to be discovered, challenged, improved. This was the true golden age of learning. Today, you live in a world built by Greek rationality. When you use logic, you're using Aristotle. When you debate ideas, you're using Socrates. When you think abstractly, you're using Plato. When you search for evidence, you're following the Ionian tradition. When you study science, you're practicing Greek rationality refined through centuries. Democracy, scientific inquiry, critical reasoning, academic institutions, all trace their origins back to Greece. The Greeks didn't just invent ideas, they invented a new way to think. The real miracle, the miracle of Greece was not its architecture or its armies. It was a transformation inside consciousness. A shift from myth to method, from blind belief to scrutiny, from fear to curiosity, from tradition to discovery. The Greeks chose to question the world instead of accepting it. And when they did, they unlocked the engine of progress. The birth of rational thinking was the birth of the modern world, and in many ways, it was the birth of us.